I had loved Ethan for 10 years, yet he was the one who sent me to prison with his own hands. The same man who once pulled me from the fire ended up casting me into the abyss. But today, I've decided to set him free. Number 53, you're free to go. Expressionless, I took back my ID card. My eyes were hollow, lifeless. A year ago, I went to see Ethan with an ultrasound in hand, my heart brimming with joy, but what I found was him holding Chloe in his arms. The two of them tangled in an intimate embrace. I rushed over and shoved Chloe away. In the scuffle, I accidentally hurt her. Ethan's eyes turned red with fury. He pushed me aside and shielded Chloe, glaring at me like I was a monster. "You're so cruel," he shouted. Online, Chloe's fans launched a relentless wave of attacks against me. Even though I was carrying Ethan's child, he still held Chloe tightly, looking at me with murderous eyes. I refused to apologize. And with Ethan refusing to let Chloe sign a letter of forgiveness, the police arrested me. I was given a heavy sentence. 1 year in prison. On the way to the station, Chloe's fans pelted me with things. The crowd spun out of control. I turned red-eyed to look at Ethan, hoping for something, anything. But his gaze was cold, empty. In a daze, I remembered the boy he used to be, the one who would smile with youthful innocence as he wrapped me in his arms. "Claire, don't be afraid. I'll always protect you." Chach, a sharp pain pierced my chest, snapping me out of the memory. My breath grew shallow. With a thud, I collapsed on the ground. A passerby rushed me to the hospital. I had fainted several times in prison, but the infirmary there was a joke. The nurses couldn't tell me anything. Since the miscarriage, my health had only gone downhill. I would wake in the middle of the night from stabbing pain. When I opened my eyes, the doctor was staring at my test results with a deep frown. What are young people thinking these days? A miscarriage and no proper recovery. I took the paper from him, hands trembling. The diagnosis glared up at me. Late stage. I sat on the hospital bed for a long time before finally pulling out my phone and dialing the number I knew by heart. "Hello," his familiar voice sent a sharp stab through my chest. "It's me, Claire, you're out. I told you not to call me again," Ethan said, his voice quickly turning cold. I looked down at the paper in my hand, at the cold, ticking countdown on my life, and gave a faint smile. Back then, when Chloe went abroad, Ethan was heartbroken. I stayed by his side day after day, thinking I could change his heart. I thought having his child would make him see me differently. But in the end, the only one trapped was me. "Ethan, let's get a divorce." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then, after a while, his voice came back. "Claire, what are you playing at now?" Ethan's tone was laced with impatience. Of course it was. Every time he mentioned divorce before, I had clung to him desperately, refusing to sign the papers. Sometimes I'd vanish altogether, leaving him waiting at the civil office all afternoon. So now that I agreed so easily, of course he'd think I had an ulterior motive. I gave a bitter laugh. "Ethan, tomorrow, the old house, don't be late." I didn't let him finish. I hung up. There was nothing more to say between us. The fork still dangled from my hand as I turned off the TV, which had been playing Chloe's endless stream of endorsements. I drove to the old house. It used to be our marital home, Ethan's and mine. We had sweet days there once. He used to hold my hand and tell me he loved me. Over and over again. He once drove 30 kilometers in the middle of the night just because I said I was craving cake from a bakery across town. But all of that had faded like smoke. Just another illusion I'd been foolish enough to believe in. I pushed open the heavy wooden door. Dust covered the table in a thick layer. It was clear no one had been here in a long time. Ethan didn't show. I picked up my phone, about to call him, when breaking news notifications started popping up like wildfire. The top 3 trending searches were all about Ethan, the CEO of Rivers Group, throwing a lavish birthday party for Chloe. Tens of thousands of comments gushed across the screen. "Chloe's going to marry rich. So jealous, she just got back from abroad and already has top-tier resources. Queen behavior. Our baby Chloe deserves nothing but the best." Some tried to criticize her, but their voices were quickly drowned out. So they'd been together for a long time. Ethan had even invested in several shows for her. As soon as she returned to the country, she became the hottest lead actress on the market. I ignored the comments. my eyes fixed on one of the pictures, zooming in on the background, the bar behind them. Phantom Shore. Ethan had once given it to me as a wedding gift, but later, Chloe had taken a liking to it. Ethan had asked me to hand it over more than once. I always refused. Without wasting another second, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Phantom Shore. The moment I walked in, the bartender recognized me. His eyes darted nervously as he stammered, "Mr. Rivers isn't here." I took off my sunglasses with a flick, not even sparing him a glance. "Is that so?" "Why yes." My eyes skimmed past the VIP rooms. I headed upstairs without hesitation. The bartender scrambled to follow. I threw open the door to one of the private suites. There they were, Ethan and Chloe. The room was filled with Ethan's friends, who all froze awkwardly at the sight of me. Annoyance twisted Ethan's features. "What are you doing here? I'm the legal owner of this place. What do you think?" "Just doing my job. Or were you afraid I came here to catch you cheating?" His face darkened. Chloe, on the other hand, stood up gracefully, lifting her glass in my direction. "Claire," she said sweetly, with a confident smile. But she didn't offer me a seat. Ethan's friends, sensing the tension, excused themselves one by one. Soon, only the three of us were left in the room. The atmosphere turned ice-cold. I shrugged, unconcerned, and sat down wherever I pleased. Chloe followed suit. Her voice syrupy as she looked at me. "Claire, Ethan and I are truly in love. I know this might hurt you, but I hope you can understand what it means to love someone. Please, let us be." She downed her wine in one gulp. Ethan rushed forward to stop her, his face full of concern. "You shouldn't drink, not with your condition." "I told you that." But when he looked back at me, all the warmth in his eyes vanished, only coldness remained. Whatever warmth had once existed in Ethan's gaze was now gone, replaced by nothing but ice. "Claire, this has nothing to do with Chloe," he said coldly. "I just don't love you anymore. If you have a problem, take it up with me." I looked at the man and woman in front of me, performing their perfect duet, and suddenly felt nothing but pity for myself. For the years I had wasted loving him. My eyes landed on the birthday crown sitting on the table. The words "Happy Birthday to my little princess" glittering across it. I let out a laugh, then flipped the entire table over. With a crash, the carefully arranged dishes shattered across the floor. Chloe screamed and threw herself into Ethan's arms. Her hands clamped over her ears. A shard of porcelain grazed Ethan's arm, leaving a red line of blood behind. I heard Chloe only became an actress because her family went bankrupt. Figures, a woman raised properly would never act like this. Chloe's face went pale, her lips trembled, her teeth chattering in anger. Ethan turned on me, his expression livid. "Claire, that's enough." But I only looked at him with bored indifference. "What, you want to throw me in jail again? Fine," he snapped. "Ben, call the police. She's causing a scene." Ben, the bartender who had brought me upstairs, had long stopped recognizing me as the owner. These days, he only recognized Chloe. The bar, ironically, had been built close to the police station to prevent drunken brawls. It wasn't long before the officers arrived and escorted me out. As I passed Ben, I stared him down with a blank face. "You're fired." In the police car, pain tightened in my chest. My nose stung, but no tears came. One of the officers glanced at me and, seeing my pale face, tried to reassure me. "Don't be nervous, miss. This is just routine. We just need a statement." They asked me to compensate for the bar's damage. I showed them my business license. They asked about Ethan's injured arm. I pulled out our marriage certificate. The officers fell silent for a long moment. Eventually, they simply scolded me lightly, then let me go. The moment I stepped out of the station, I headed straight for Ethan's office. I didn't want to waste a second. His secretary was at least courteous. She served me snacks and tea in the VIP lounge before hurrying away to make a call. I knew who she was calling, and it was exactly what I wanted. A few hours later, Ethan arrived, tie loosened, clearly in a rush. I stood up with a smile. "Took you long enough." There was no warmth in my smile, but in my heart, I had never felt calmer. I knew that from this day forward, the name Ethan, the name that had once defined my entire life, would mean nothing to me anymore. Chloe was shaken. I took her to the hospital. Perhaps my calmness threw him off, for once. He didn't come in guns blazing, I nodded, but he soon grew suspicious again, and his voice rose. Why are you here? Without a word, I pulled the divorce papers from my bag and laid them on the table. To give you your freedom. The peace inside me was profound, but it came with a sharp edge of regret. Why hadn't I woken up sooner? If I had, I might have avoided jail, might not have lost my baby, might not have ended up with a terminal illness. Ethan stared at me warily. Claire, what trick are you playing now? Oh please, I sneered, you've been so morally bankrupt for years. I suppose now your eyesight's gone too, it's all in black and white. What kind of trick could I possibly play? Sign the papers and stop wasting my time. His tone softened a bit. What are your terms? I wrote them all down, I said. Unwilling to waste another word on him, Ethan picked up the papers and read them carefully. A smirk tugged at my lips. Both Ethan and I had been orphans since childhood. We used to go hungry more often than not, and he would take me to the fields to steal corn so we could eat. He once said, I can only rest easy when Claire is with me. He said I was the only one he could ever entrust with his weakest side. He gave me all his money. Worked 3 jobs a day just to make sure I was fed and warm. Now we had everything. Money, houses, status. But not love, that's it. Ethan looked at me, disbelief in his eyes. He had expected me to demand everything, use his betrayal to wring him dry. I tossed the pen to him. That's it, sign. Ethan signed the papers quickly. I grabbed my copy and turned to leave. Claire, he called after me. I frowned and looked back. What? I'll give you the villa in South Hills, too. That villa sat in one of the most prime locations in the city, now worth over $10 million. Ethan was being surprisingly generous. I raised an eyebrow. Giving it to me. Aren't you afraid your precious Chloe will be upset? It was almost funny. Anything I liked, Chloe liked more. Ethan's face darkened with fresh anger. Claire, you think Chloe's like you. She knows her place. She's polite. She's not like you. When I didn't respond, he sighed and loosened his tie. Besides, he added softly, I promised it to you. My heart twisted painfully. So, you still remembered. I thought back to my younger self, staring in awe at the elegant, beautiful house we'd once seen. Ethan had patted his chest and said, Claire, don't worry, one day, I'll give you a big house like that. My nose tingled. Maybe the air in the room was too stuffy. I nodded faintly, then turned and walked away. After all, a free gift is a free gift. I wasn't about to leave it on the table, but my chest ached again. A familiar throb deep under the ribs. I drove straight to the hospital. I told the doctor I wanted palliative care only. There was no point in treatment. I didn't want to spend the rest of my numbered days trapped in a cold, sterile cage, but under the doctor's insistence, I agreed to stay for observation. Lying in bed, I flipped through the TV channels. Every other channel was either a Chloe commercial or a Chloe variety show. Was the entire entertainment industry out of people? Disgusted, I switched to cartoons. 2 little cartoon kids walked hand in hand to school. I froze, watching them. And then I remembered, Ethan used to walk me home. Gripping my hand tightly as we stood on the crowded bus. Claire, he would say, hold on to me. Ethan, I can't hold on anymore. I switched the channel again, landing on a crime show. The host was mid-sentence. A minor internet celebrity caught cheating with a crime boss, busted by the wife. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned the TV off. My phone buzzed. It was Ethan. What is it? My voice came out hoarse. Weak. Ethan sounded urgent. Claire, where are you? I'll take you to the civil office. Now, I glanced at the force still dripping into my arm. Was he really in that much of a rush? Can we go tomorrow? I'm not feeling well right now. He grew irritated. Claire, you already agreed to the divorce. What's the point of dragging this out? He thought I was playing games again. I took a deep breath and gave him the address. Jinghua Hospital. He paused for a moment, then his voice came back, colder than ever. Wait for me. Click. He hung up. I stared at the 4. Then clenched my jaw and ripped it out. I got dressed and made my way downstairs. Ethan's car pulled up quickly. He was going over 70 miles per hour the whole way. I glanced sideways at his sharp features, the once familiar face. He used to pick me up from school, and we'd take the bus home together. Now, we were heading to get divorced, in a luxury Maybach. When we arrived at the civil office, Chloe was already standing there with her suitcase. She smiled at me apologetically as I walked up. "Claire, I'm so sorry you had to come out this late. I just got urgent notice. I have to go overseas for something." "So Ethan, what's wrong? Your relative died." Couldn't wait for the seventh-day ritual. All I wanted was to end the marriage quietly. But Chloe just couldn't resist making herself the center of attention. Her face instantly paled, her entire body trembling. "Miss Lin," she said, her voice trembling with outrage, "watch your words, or I'll sue you for verbal assault." I looked at her righteous posture and nearly forgot. She was a law student. Back in the day, Ethan had studied day and night just to get into the same program as her. Chloe came from a wealthy family and was undeniably beautiful. She had been the goddess of our university, the dream of every guy on campus, even after she went abroad to study acting. Her stories still floated through the halls like legend. It was only then I realized, Ethan never truly chose me, he just couldn't have her. I looked down and laughed softly. Then, without warning, I lifted my hand and slapped her across the face. "Chloe, you want to sue me?" I sneered. "Be my guest. I'll be waiting for that court summons." I had never been afraid before, and I wasn't about to start now. I had a criminal record and a terminal illness. What else could I possibly fear? Some people. "If you don't hit them now, you won't get the chance later." Clutching her cheek, Chloe stared at me in disbelief. "Claire," came a furious voice from behind. I glanced at Ethan. "You parked the car. Good, let's go." I turned to enter the building, but Ethan blocked my path. "Claire, you never learn, do you?" "What? Did prison not teach you a thing?" A mocking smile curved my lips. "Go ahead, call the police, have me arrested." I clasped my hands together and held them out to him like a criminal offering her wrists. Ethan stared at me, stunned by my audacity. Then he grabbed my hand and dragged me inside. "Divorce? There's nothing left to say between us." I wrenched my hand free. "Fine, but have Chloe apologize first. Her face is so thick." It hurt my hand. "Claire, don't push your luck." "Oh, I am pushing it, and what are you gonna do about it? If she doesn't apologize, I'm not signing." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking at Chloe with disdain. "Come on, Chloe, my time is precious. I won't waste a second of it." She stood frozen, her face drained of color, fists clenched tightly at her sides. "Claire, this has nothing to do with Chloe," Ethan barked. "It's me who doesn't love you anymore. Blame me." He moved in front of Chloe, shielding her from my glare. "Is that so? Fine by me. If she won't apologize, you can go ahead and castrate yourself, Mr. Rivers." Ethan stared at me like he wanted to kill me. I found it boring. I put on my sunglasses and turned to leave, but Chloe stepped forward to block me. "Miss Lin, I'm sorry." I smiled at her trembling fists. The Reed family had been declining for years. Now Chloe had landed Ethan, a rich man foolish enough to bankroll her. She wasn't about to let go of that golden goose. I tilted my head and smiled. "See, that wasn't so hard. Don't waste my time next time, and if you ever see me again, walk the other way. Keep your self-righteous act away from me." I waved a hand near my nose and walked toward the civil office. We each signed our names. I stared at the red stamp on the divorce papers. It was over. I watched Ethan's retreating figure as he walked away with casual ease. Pain twisted in my chest, and my vision blurred. For a moment, I saw the boy he used to be, the one who would smile in the sunshine and wave at me. "Claire, let's go home." A tear slipped down the side of my face. I slowly reached out my hand. "Ethan, we can never go back." I turned to look at the crabapple trees blooming outside the window and smiled faintly. Spring has come. Why keep holding on to a summer that's long gone? The doctor stood in front of me, stern-faced. "Why aren't you getting treatment?" I sat at the edge of the hospital bed, hugging a stuffed bear. "My family can't afford it," I said softly. "It'd be a waste. No point spending money we don't have." He didn't give up. "What about your parents?" "I'm an orphan," I replied obediently. He frowned. "You're not married. What about your husband? Children?" "I just got divorced last month," I said, staring at the floor. "He left with another woman. I lost the baby." The doctor sighed and shook his head. In the end, he gave me a stack of prescriptions and went over every instruction in detail. I nodded again and again, my eyes stinging. It had been so long since someone cared that much about me. I packed my things and left Jinghai. Before I left, I handed all the evidence I'd gathered to a lawyer. I told him to sue Ethan for every cent he'd ever spent on Chloe. Chloe loved to show off. Every time Ethan gave her something expensive, she'd post about it online, which worked out perfectly for me. I knew Ethan didn't care about the money. That's exactly why I wanted to do it, just to discuss them both. I never liked Jinghai. Life moved too fast, and it was suffocating. I preferred the Southlands. I had spent so many years chasing Ethan's dreams, I had forgotten what it meant to live my own. It wasn't until prison that I realized just how deeply I yearned for the distant places I'd never seen. On the train, a young couple sat behind me. They were sharing a lunchbox, leaning into each other, looking impossibly in love. "Jiao Jiao, I promise I'll work hard," the boy said. "I'll take you on a plane. We'll travel the world, see the great rivers and mountains." His voice was full of passion. The girl's reply was filled with joy. I kept glancing back at them, as if trying to catch a glimpse of my own lost youth. In a daze, I remembered Ethan taking my hand. "Claire," he had said, "once my career takes off, I'll take you to the Southlands. We'll see the white walls and black tiles, the bridges and the flowing water." I looked out the window and smiled faintly. "Ethan, you broke your promise." I had finally stepped onto the land I once dreamed of. The air smelled sweet and clean. I rented a small inn and became the innkeeper. It was the closest I'd ever come to realizing a dream of my own. At night, I lay on a bench in the backyard, listening to cicadas, watching fireflies, fanning myself with a straw fan. Aside from the bitter medicine I had to drink every day, life was peaceful. Months passed like that. Then one day, Ethan called. I answered the phone groggily. "Hello, who is this?" His voice snapped me awake. "Where did you go? Why aren't you home?" I squinted at the clock and frowned. "What do you want?" "What? I can't call you if I don't have a reason." His voice wasn't as cold as it used to be. I took a breath, trying to suppress my irritation. "Ethan, are you sick or something? We're divorced." "No, you can't call me for no reason." A pause, then his voice came through the line. "Claire, I'm going to sell Phantom Shore." I went silent. That place was where we had started our lives in Jinghai. It was our blood, sweat, and tears, and now he wanted to sell it. "Do what you want." I hung up, my chest ached again. I brewed another dose of medicine. Only to discover I was out. I headed upstairs to reorganize my things. While going through my bag, a notebook slipped out of the side pocket. A journal. The cover made my eyes sting. Ethan had drawn it himself. "Claire," he had said, "this is what our future home will look like. This corner's for your clothes, that wall is for your shoes, over here, your bags, and here is for me." I had asked. "No," he had said, "that's where you go. Wherever you are, that's home." I handed the journal to Timmy, the boy who helped at the inn. "Find somewhere to burn this," I said. "I can't do it myself. I ran out of my medication. And this particular prescription could only be filled at a specific clinic. So I returned to Jinghai and headed to Jinghua Hospital. The moment the doctor saw me, he insisted on running some tests. After going through my results, his tone softened. "Are you really refusing treatment? There's a new government policy now. It covers half the costs." I shook my head and thanked him. I knew he meant well, but I had no desire to spend the rest of my days confined to a hospital bed. The doctor sighed and stamped the form. "At most, you have a month. Go get your meds." I nodded, eager to grab the medicine and leave, but in my rush, I accidentally bumped into someone. Rubbing my forehead, I quickly apologized. Sorry. Are you okay, Claire? What are you doing here?" I winced. Seeing it was Ethan, my tone instantly cooled. "What, mister?" Ethan practicing headbutts now. "Your skull's thicker than your face." I turned to leave, but Ethan blocked my path. "Why are you at the hospital? Are you sick?" His eyes flicked repeatedly to the medicine bag in my hand. "What else do you do at a hospital? Obviously getting checked out. You've got so many women." Ethan, who knows what I might have caught, ignoring the way his face darkened, I walked off without looking back. Just my luck. Life went on as usual. I drank tea, watched the flowers bloom, sometimes fished all day with the old man who lived near the gate. That night, someone knocked incessantly at the wooden door. "We're closed for the day." I shouted from inside, but the knocking continued. Annoyed, I went to open the door. It was Ethan. He looked a mess, dusty, disheveled, and worn out. He just stood there, staring at me. I nearly jumped. "What are you doing here? Wait. How did you even know I was here?" I stared at him warily. He looked like he wanted to say something, throat working, lips parting then closing again. I was starting to lose patience. The evening breeze was getting chilly, and I had no time to waste with Ethan. I moved to shut the door, but his large hand stopped it mid-swing. "Clay." The rest of the name caught in his throat, then he shoved the door open and said softly, "A room, I'm here to stay." I frowned, completely lost. "Sir, we're closed, and besides, you're not welcome here. Go find somewhere else to crash." I stood at the doorway, hand braced on the wooden frame, waiting for him to leave. But Ethan strode past me and up the stairs. I hurried after him. "Ethan, you better stop right there or I'm calling the cops. You do realize this is trespassing, right?" He halted abruptly. I thought he was finally giving up and stepped aside to let him pass. Instead, he turned toward me and pulled me into a hug. I froze, then I struggled hard to push him away, but he wouldn't let go, so I bit down on his shoulder, hard. Blood soaked through his shirt, but though he winced, he only held me tighter. "Ethan, speak. If you've got something to say, say it." He finally let go. His usual cold gaze was gone, replaced by something soft and sorrowful. "I just want to stay here." I rolled my eyes. "Ethan, are you crazy? Can't understand plain English?" "Oh," I said mockingly, eyes wide with fake realization. "Got kicked out by Chloe. Bankrupt now. No place to go. You should have said so earlier. Even though you treated me like garbage all these years, I'm not that heartless." I pulled 200 yuan from my pocket and shoved it into his hand. "Take this. I've got a stable down in the South Village. You can stay there as long as you like. After all, a stud like you belongs in a stable." I thought he'd explode with rage or leave in shame. But Ethan just stared at the bills in his hand like a robot, expressionless. He turned to go inside. I followed, annoyed. What's wrong with this man? This wasn't like him. Neither the proud young Ethan nor the successful middle-aged one had ever been this. Silent, I frowned and went in after him. He was just glancing around the room, taking everything in. Then he sat down at a tea table and brewed a pot of tea, pouring me a cup. I knocked the teacup over in irritation. "What the hell do you want?" Ethan suddenly squatted on the floor, covering his face, and began to sob. "Claire, I just want to be with you." I stared at him in shock. I couldn't make sense of it. After everything, trust had vanished on both sides. What used to be an unspoken bond had turned into a constant battle of suspicion. No matter how many barbs I threw his way, he refused to leave. As the sun dipped lower, and with other guests still in the inn, I didn't want a scene. So I gave him the storage room to sleep in, and charged him 10 times the normal rate. Serves him right. Ethan stood at the doorway looking pitiful, pointing toward the room behind me. "Claire, I want that room." I turned to see where he was pointing and nearly snapped. "That was my room." I glared at him. "This is the only room available. Take it or leave it." I stormed off, leaving him to sulk his way in. The room was so small he couldn't even stretch his legs, but he stayed for days. Every morning, he'd show up at my door, bringing me breakfast, slicing fruit, brewing tea, rain or shine. He went out to buy me pastries. I once casually mentioned I liked a certain wooden toy. That night, he chopped down one of my trees and stayed up all night crafting it for me. I frowned at the delicate piece in my hand. I had to admit, Ethan was really good with his hands. He always had been. Sharp, quick, brilliant. Many families had wanted to adopt him, but he refused them all. He only wanted to stay with me. Looking at him now, I couldn't hold back anymore. I pulled him into my room and tried to keep my tone calm. "Ethan, what are you really doing here? How did you even know where I was?" His hand paused mid-slice on the apple. His eyes reddened in an instant, fingers trembling. The apple dropped and rolled across the floor. I stared at him. He suddenly covered his face and started crying. I was stunned. Ethan had never cried. This was a first. But the more he cried, the more irritated I got. I kicked him lightly. "Talk." He trembled, then pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. It was my medical report, diagnosis, timeline, and my current address. That's when it hit me. Jinghua Hospital was one of Ethan's holdings. He had shares in it, of course he could access my records. I sighed. Why are you crying? Acting like you're the one dying. His tears wouldn't stop, streaming down like a flood. I was getting a headache from it all. I swept the teacups off the table. If you're gonna cry, get out and cry somewhere else. He fell silent like a scolded child, sniffling quietly. Before he left, he even swept up all the broken shards. Wouldn't want you stepping on them, he muttered. The old man at the gate told me the temple nearby was known for answering prayers. I had been eating vegetarian meals for several days, dressed in plain clothes and carrying a small basket. I left the house. I used to love buying designer bags since I was little. But now I've come to understand. At the end of indulgence lies simplicity. Ethan was in the kitchen preparing breakfast. When he saw me heading out, he quickly followed behind. I rode a bicycle. The breeze tangled in my hair, the scent of flowers brushing past my nose. Ethan followed cautiously behind. I looked at the endless flight of temple steps ahead of me, just about to climb them. Ethan reached out to stop me, his voice full of concern. Claire, it's too steep, you're not in good health. Let me go instead. Okay. I shook off his hand without hesitation. Ethan, what's wrong with you? Sincerity is everything in Buddhism. Are you deliberately trying to sabotage my wish? A look of panic flashed across his face. Claire, you know I didn't mean it that way. Left with no choice, Ethan backed off, bowing his head and whispering, just go slow. Okay. I ignored him. I didn't let him support me. Head lowered, I took 3 steps and bowed once, each motion slow and devout. Ethan stayed beside me the whole time, nervous and fidgety. Seeing him like that, I couldn't help but find it a bit amusing. At the altar, I knelt on the cushion, lit the incense, and inserted the sticks into the burner. I made 2 wishes. The first one, if there is a next life, may I become the wind and roam freely across all lands. Claire, what did you wish for? Ethan asked, snapped out of my thoughts. I glared at him. If I tell you, it won't come true. Are you trying to jinx me or what? Ethan looked hurt and lowered his head. I added more donation money to the incense box, and Ethan lit 3 sticks himself. An old monk handed me a bamboo cylinder. I shook it repeatedly until a stick fell out. He picked it up and passed it to me. It was the worst omen. Ethan's face darkened. He grabbed my arm and pulled me away. This is nonsense. Totally inaccurate, he muttered as we left. My health continued to decline. I often woke in the middle of the night, writhing in pain. Ethan boiled medicine for me every day and left it on my bedside table. Knowing I couldn't stand the bitterness, he even prepared candied fruit in advance. Watching him wear himself out running around for me, doing things that ultimately meant nothing. Ethan, don't you have work to do at your company? He paused, ladle in hand, and muttered quietly, nothing matters more than you. I said nothing, just smiled faintly. Why? His eyes turned red, voice choked with emotion. I'm sorry, Claire. I was blind, obsessed. I couldn't see clearly before, but now I finally realize how much I love you. The moment I saw your medical report, it felt like a knife through my heart. I wished I could take your pain instead. I don't know how things got this bad. I thought if I just came back, you'd still be there waiting. Tears streamed down his face. I looked at him in his sorrow and let out a cold laugh. Your love was throwing me into prison and forgetting I existed. Your love was letting me lie on a cold, hard bed, miscarrying our child alone. Ethan, don't you dare call that love. Your love is cheap. He stood there speechless, head hanging low. No, that's not true. It's not like that. I didn't like being around people. We only had one helper at the inn. One morning as I came downstairs, I saw Ethan busily helping guests with their luggage, under his management. The inn had gone from losing money to finally turning a profit. I picked up my medicine bowl and looked at him. You sure like this inn? Huh, don't tell me you're just after my inheritance. I'm telling you, Ethan, even if I die, I'd rather donate every penny than leave any of it to you. He hated it when I talked about death, so I talked about it often. Looking at the dark, bitter concoction in my hands, I found Ethan even more irritating. Before every dose, I couldn't resist throwing a few barbed words his way. The doctor said the illness might have stemmed from my miscarriage years ago, worsened by the poor conditions afterward. After all, in prison, you don't get private rooms, you're crammed in with all kinds of people, sharing toilets, showers, everything. I turned and went back upstairs. Ethan had turned the empty rooftop into a little garden. He even installed a smart projector and built a swing for me. There was no television at the inn. I had no interest in the outside world. All I wanted now was to live out the rest of my life tending to flowers and plants. Ethan had done a nice job decorating the space. I couldn't resist kicking off my shoes and walking barefoot across the warm, soft grass. He brought over a plate of fruit and placed it in front of me. My body was getting weaker. I could no longer stay outside for too long. I couldn't fish anymore either. Bored, I switched on the projector. Breaking news. Popular actress Chloe was exposed for once being the mistress of a 60-year-old tycoon named Charles in the US. Reports claim they had a child, now living in an orphanage. Following the revelation, Chloe's sponsors have pulled out one after another. She now faces massive breach of contract penalties. I widened my eyes, a slice of orange caught in my throat. Ethan rushed to pat my back. Easy now, no one's fighting you for it. I pointed at the screen, stunned. What's this? Your woman's being dragged through the mud. Ethan glanced over casually, unfazed, but when he saw the suspicion in my eyes, he lowered his gaze and finally muttered, Claire, believe me, you're the only one in my heart. I know you broke up with her after I got sick. She asked for money. After we parted, we never spoke again. I swear. I peeled another orange and eyed him. TSK, you're ruthless, Ethan. Weren't you just cuddling and cooing with Chloe not too long ago? Now you drop her like she's nothing. I was so annoyed I smashed the projector and kicked him out of the room. Ethan banged on the door, choking on his words. Claire, I'm sorry. I regret it all. I was a bastard. Please, let me make it up to you. I regret it too, Ethan. His face lit up with hope. Until I opened the door and hurled the remote at him. I regret not hitting Chloe back then. I should have hit you. Then I slammed the door in his face. I slept longer and longer, with fewer and fewer moments of clarity. Ethan looked more and more worn, dark circles etched beneath his eyes, running everywhere to get me medicine. He called in specialist after specialist, begging me to go to the hospital. His nagging made my chest tighten with frustration. I kicked him out again. Not long after, he knocked and came in with my medicine. I gave him a sideways glance, looking at the dark, bitter bowl in his hands. Ethan, how do I know I can still trust you with my medicine? Just like a weasel wishing a chicken Happy New Year, I scoffed. Ethan poured out half the bowl of medicine and downed it in one go, his face twisted with bitterness. Serves him right. Given what was at stake, life or death, I didn't hesitate either. I picked up my bowl and drank it all in one breath, even though some things were already set in stone. Every extra day alive felt like a blessing. That day, I felt a bit better, like my spirit had returned. I wanted to get out for a walk. We passed a school on the way, and I saw Ethan perched up on the wall. He held out a hand to me. Claire, he said, let me take you home. I slapped his hand away and sneered coldly. You already destroyed my home, Ethan. I have no home left. A flicker of sadness crossed his face, but it didn't last long. Soon he was full of energy again. He tied a red string bracelet he'd bought on the roadside around my wrist. I ripped it off and threw it to the ground. Stop doing these meaningless things. I don't care about this garbage anymore. Go back to Jinghai where you belong. I turned to leave. Ethan looked a little wounded but still trailed behind me, step by step. School had just let out. A young boy with a baby face was carefully counting the few coins he had pulled from his pocket. Probably just enough for one skewer, sir. I'll take one sugar-coated hawthorn, he said. The vendor handed it to him. The boy turned, smiling brightly, and ran to a soft-looking little girl nearby. Here, Ruru, this is for you. The wind tangled my thoughts. For a moment, I saw Ethan at 10 years old in that boy. Back then, he only had enough money for one skewer, too. Claire, this is for you, Ethan said again, out of nowhere. A candied hawthorn stick in his hand. I took it silently and gave it to the boy. It felt like offering a farewell toast to our youth. In a haze, I felt someone shaking me, over and over. Claire, wake up, please, wake up. I opened my eyes slowly. Ethan's tear-streaked face came into view, my lips were parched, and my throat struggled to form words. What happened to me? Ethan's voice was hoarse from shouting, wiping his tears as if trying to scrub away a nightmare. You slept for 2 days, Claire. I really thought you wouldn't wake up. I was terrified. He pulled me into a hug and held a cup of water to my lips. That night, my mind cleared a little. I got out of bed. Ethan had been guarding the food all day, reheating it again and again. When he saw me awake, he quickly cooked a fresh meal. I couldn't hold the spoon properly, so Ethan sat beside me, feeding me small spoonfuls. My face had grown gaunt. I asked weakly, Ethan, do I look ugly now? His voice choked with emotion. He shook his head repeatedly. No, Claire. You are always the most beautiful woman in the world to me. Is that so? I whispered. If I was so beautiful, then why did you leave me for Chloe? You liar. Ethan's hand trembled. He bit his lip hard. No, Claire, I didn't. My lips curled into a faint, pale smile. Maybe I understood him now. Back then, Chloe was like a star in the sky to him. Bright, distant, unreachable. Then one day, that star fell right into his lap. How could he not clutch it close and hide it away? A person's first obsession can blind them to everything else, even their own heart. Ethan, you can go now. I don't blame you anymore. I've let it all go. The doctors said I had, at most, 1 month to live. Now, it looked like I'd already stolen 2 extra days. Please, Claire, don't send me away. When you're here, I feel alive. Like there's still a home for me, somewhere behind me. I smiled softly and looked out at the stars. Ethan, you no longer have a home. Ethan bowed his head, sobbing. Tears falling endlessly. My lips were growing numb. Speaking was becoming harder and harder. Ethan, if time could turn back, would we have ended up differently? The words came out broken and slow. My eyelids grew heavier by the second. Ethan sobbed uncontrollably, his face buried in my shoulder. But not a word could he speak. Even if it could turn back, I don't think I would choose you again. I'd travel the world instead, not be shackled by love, Claire. Ethan was crying like a lost child, but I didn't look at him. I only stared out the window. There was no road left for me to walk, so this is what it means. When love once so deep turns into silent resentment. Ethan, do you know what I prayed for? Ethan shook his head through tears, his entire body trembling. My first wish, to become the breeze of this world. My second, to never meet you again. Claire, please, if you get better, I'll do whatever you want. Even if you want me to die, I will. I gave him a faint smile, tried to reach for his face, but my hand had no strength. Ethan quickly leaned in and guided my hand to his cheek. My gaze grew distant, locked onto him. I don't want you to die. I want you to live, to grow old alone, with no one to rely on, haunted by guilt. My hand grew colder and colder, lifeless. Ethan wrapped me in blankets, rubbed my hands, frantically called for doctors. In a daze, I remembered our childhood. I once told Ethan, I hope, when I grow old, you'll still be by my side. Ethan had held my hand tight. Claire, I think I'll go before you, he said, because I could never bear the pain of losing you. Now I watched him, panicking at my side. This was enough. Ethan, I called him, my voice barely a whisper. I want roasted chestnuts, the kind from the west end of town. Claire, he hesitated. It was far. You don't want to go. Go get them, I said softly. I'll wait for you to come back. Once he heard my promise, he didn't even bother to put on his jacket. He ran out like mad, almost crashed into someone on the way. I lay there, listening to the summer cicadas outside. I smiled. Ethan, you've broken so many promises. This time, I'll break one too. I never got to eat those chestnuts. Ethan burst through the door. The roasted chestnuts tumbled to the floor. I was lying peacefully on the bed, without a single breath left. Ethan held my lifeless body, screaming, shaking me. He rubbed my hands over and over, hoping the warmth would return. But if the dead cannot rise, how could a shattered heart ever be whole again? Timmy appeared behind him, eyes red. He handed Ethan my old diary. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. The breeze from the window flipped the yellowed pages. February 7th. Failed another test. The teacher scolded me and made me cry. Ethan comforted me and even tutored me. He was the first person to ever treat me so kindly. March 6th. All the girls at school had cute skirts. Ethan noticed the way I looked at them and worked part-time for weeks to buy me a necklace. May 13th. We graduated. Ethan held my hand and said, "Claire, I'm going to give you the best life." June 17th. My birthday. Ethan took multiple overnight buses just to get home. He brought me a cake and asked me to make a wish. I closed my eyes and wished to always be with Ethan. July 30th, our 1-year anniversary. Ethan blindfolded me, grinning mysteriously. He'd bought us a house, our first real home. August 10th, Ethan cooked me a candlelit dinner. We strolled by the river hand in hand. I was so happy. January 6th, he set off fireworks for me. They were beautiful. I loved them. June 17th, my birthday again. Ethan didn't come home. He said he was working late. But I saw a message from Chloe. He was at the airport. July 30th, our wedding anniversary. I hadn't seen him in over 2 weeks. The news was flooded with rumors. Famous actress Chloe suspected of dating. August 6th, I saw him holding Chloe, whispering intimately. I was overwhelmed. I rushed up, wanting to pull them apart. I swear, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. That piece of metal wasn't mine. August 10th, they locked me up in the detention center. Ethan never came. I missed him so much. Ethan passed out from crying. Timmy rushed him to the hospital. The doctor said Ethan's body was severely worn out and urged him to stay for observation. He didn't. He cremated me instead, and carried my ashes, walking toward a far-off land. As my soul dissolved, piece by piece, in the flames, the world went on. Without me. Next, I will tell you the second story. If you think the story is good, please remember to subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation. After the college entrance exams, my husband finally laid all his cards on the table. Yao Yao, shouting's been with me for 3 years. I want to give her a proper title. I watched his lips move, but all I could feel was a wave of dizziness crashing over me. Later, my son and I discussed it. We threw all his father's junk out of the house without hesitation, and we sincerely wished them well. Don't worry, I said, Xiaoting loves you for who you are, whether you have money or not, she won't care. Not long after. She didn't even get the chance to kneel and beg. The day after my son's exams, my husband invited me to a quaint cafe with a beautiful ambience. I dressed up carefully, thinking I was about to receive a heartfelt confession of love, and I did, just not the one I expected. Our son is grown now. Our duties as parents are done. He stirred his coffee endlessly, eyes lowered. I want a life of my own. I hope you can understand. Xiaoting has waited 3 years for me. I can't keep her waiting any longer. His words were like hammers, shattering the last illusions I had about this man. Xiaoting, my voice trembled, my vision blurred. She was my secretary. I made her quit after we got together. I rented her a place. She's waited patiently for 3 years. I don't want to let her down. He said this with stunning calm, as if he wasn't talking to the woman who had stood by him for 2 decades. I stared at his moving lips. And suddenly I understood that famous line from a Chinese Odyssey. I want to catch that fly, rip open its belly, pull out its guts, wrap them around its neck, and yank, until the whole world goes quiet. I inhaled deeply, pinched my nose, and with trembling hands, sent a message to my son. Second booth. Cat poo coffee. Come, now. Putting my phone down, I forced myself to remain composed. I stared directly at the scumbag in front of me. So, you've been having an affair for 3 years. My voice cracked. There was a faint trace of sorrow even I hadn't noticed. He glanced at my phone and scoffed. Don't bother recording. Infidelity during marriage is only a moral issue. It's not enough to strip me of all assets. I'm just here to negotiate a solution. We do have a son, after all. You remember we have a son. My voice rose, trembling. Where were you when he was sick these past 3 years, when the 2 of us were up night after night for his college prep? Where the hell were you? I was on the edge of breaking down. Keep your voice down, he snapped. Didn't we agree to discuss this calmly? If you keep yelling, then forget it. We'll talk another time. I'm not making a scene here. Just as he stood to leave, our son pushed the door open. Mom, Dad, what are you doing here? My ex glanced at him, then turned to glare at me. You called him, what for? I patted the seat beside me. Come sit, honey, your father has something to say to us. My son, confused and anxious, approached and gently touched my shoulder. Mom, are you okay? The scumbag sighed, furrowed his brow, and slowly sat back down. No one spoke, the silence was suffocating. So I chose to be the villain. Son, I said, your father is seeing someone else, he wants to divorce me. Do you have anything you'd like to say to him? What? My son's voice cracked. Mom, what are you saying? Dad, that's not true, right? The man lifted his eyes, glanced at me, then looked at our son. Your mom's telling the truth, you've finished your exams, and I have the right to live the life I want. This family, it's dull, I want out, but don't worry, your life won't change. I'll pay for your education, even grad school if you want it. Aunt Xiaoting supports that too. My son sat in stunned silence, then the tears came. Dad, what are you talking about? Do you think I need her support? I wiped my eyes, pulled tissues from my bag and handed one to my son. Then I pulled out a notepad and tapped it lightly on the table. All right, we'll save the parting words for later. For now, what are you leaving for your son? The scumbag pulled a tissue, took off his glasses, wiped them, then finally spoke after a long breath. We have 3 properties, 2 smaller ones for you too. One can be for our son's future marriage. The other is for you, to have something for yourself. There's about 1.5 million yuan in savings. I'll give you 1 million. I'll keep 500,000. As for insurance and annuities, I'll keep paying those. Nothing changes there. If you have other requests, we can discuss them. My son broke down again. I don't want this. I don't want any of this. He sobbed. Why are you doing this? Why do you have to divorce? Seeing our son crying uncontrollably, my ex walked over and hugged him. The two of them held each other and cried. The sight made me sick. Is Xiaoting really so amazing, so irreplaceable, that you're willing to throw everything away for her? While they wept, I went over the assets he'd listed in my mind and tilted my head toward my son. Would you be willing to move? I asked. Your father wants us to take one of the smaller places. Still sobbing, my son clung to his father. Dad, I don't want to move. I've lived here so long. Everything here holds memories of you and Mom. Please, don't make me leave. My ex sighed as he patted our son's back. Okay, we won't move. This house will be yours. You'll need it when you get married. Anyway, I nodded. Maybe I didn't have a good husband, but at least my son had a father who still cared, and Xiaoting, who waited for 3 years, must really love him. She wouldn't mind a smaller home, right? Yes, he said, she won't mind. The place she's renting now is tiny and old, but she keeps it spotless. She's a woman who really loves life. Suddenly, my emotions twisted inside me. So Xiaoting loves life, she likes cleanliness and ambience, she makes time for affection. You two share hobbies. And what about me? I gave my entire youth to this family, every ounce of energy to raise our son, and you never saw it, never tried to understand how I felt. Maybe that's what adulthood is. Half acceptance, half resignation. I looked up tuition costs for my son's dream university and also checked the average costs for getting married these days. Then I sat down between them. We still have time. Let's sort out our son's future first. As for who he ends up marrying, neither of us can control that. But I doubt our son will be as lucky as you, finding a woman who asks for nothing. I looked at him and continued. Here's my suggestion. Keep 200,000 yuan in cash for yourself. I'll manage the rest, for child support. 10 to 20,000 a month should be enough. Once he graduates, your responsibility ends. From then on, here's my job, you just focus on your new little family. Is that okay? My ex looked at me, then our son, then he said, Yao Yao, the thing is, Xiaoting and I are planning to get married. It's her first time, I need to make arrangements. 200,000 just isn't enough. I took a deep breath. My brain felt like mush. Still, I had to keep it together, for my son's sake. Do you remember how we got married 20 years ago? I asked. No dowry, no house, no banquet, not even a decent wedding photo, just 2 people with pure hearts. I held up a hand. I'm not trying to guilt you with the past, I just want you to know, you were worth it. You were worth a woman giving you everything she had, wholeheartedly. Shouting today is who I was 20 years ago, mesmerized by your talent, enchanted by your charm. It doesn't matter if you have a house or money. She believes you can give her happiness, and maybe you can, but our son can't. He doesn't have your talent, or your looks, or your charm. He doesn't even know how to talk to girls, so he can't afford to be poor. You want him to be happy like you, right? My son was still crying silently. My ex looked at him, eyes softening. Okay, I'll keep only 200,000. The rest is yours, the current house, plus one of the small ones. I'll keep the other small one. Is that okay? He looked at me, almost pleading. I nodded. Fine, that one's yours. I'll take the smallest one. I'm alone now. It doesn't matter. I won't marry again. His eyes darted away, and I caught a flicker of guilt in his expression. I continued, you can set the child support however you like, just don't let our son feel ashamed at school. He took a deep breath and did some quick math. Then 20,000 a month, it's not a burden. I hope you both can live well, and, if we ever have another child in the future, we'll talk then. My heart sank to the bottom. So even our son wasn't his only one. I turned slightly and met my son's eyes. I understood his pain, and he understood mine. We were both discarded pieces in this game. Forcing a smile, I said to him, silly boy, come on, thank your dad. No matter what happens between your father and me, his love for you won't change. His eyes were swollen from crying. Words no longer came out, just tears. Once everything was finalized, afraid I'd go back on my word. My ex-husband moved quickly. Within days, he had me sign the divorce papers, transferred the money to my bank account at the bank, and put the properties under my name. Then he took me to the civil affairs office and handed in all the paperwork. As we stood in the waiting room, he checked his watch and said, Yao, I'll reach out before the 25th next month. Don't forget to come. Try not to schedule anything else that day. I nodded. Don't worry, I'll make sure your wish comes true. Perhaps guilt still lingered in him, because he asked softly, want to have lunch together? I was just about to refuse when his phone rang. His eyes lit up instantly. He turned and walked away, answering with a tone so warm and doting it made my skin crawl. Don't worry, it's all arranged. I'll be home soon. You already cooked for me. Perfect, perfect. See you soon. Thank you, baby. I love you too, my one and only. Let's see how long your true love lasts. Before the exams, I'd promised our son a graduation trip, and now that the time had come, even though it was just me now, I had to keep my word. That night, I knocked on my son's bedroom door. His eyes were still red and swollen. I gently said, testing the waters, pack up, tomorrow, I'm taking you on a little getaway. Where to? He asked without much enthusiasm. You've always wanted to go to Tibet, haven't you? His eyes lit up, then dimmed again. Seriously, you just went through all that. Are you even up for it? You're not trying to trick me, are you? I glanced at my watch and sighed. The tickets are already booked. We fly to Shinning tomorrow morning. You've got 30 minutes to pack. Then, lights out, he leapt up from the bed like a spring. Mom, you're serious? That's amazing. Thank you, Mom, I love you. Can I ask a few classmates to come too? Some of them wanted to join. I nodded. Just then, my ex called. I answered reluctantly, Yao. I'm coming tomorrow to pick up my stuff. Are you going to be home? I looked at my son. Your dad wants to move out tomorrow. Should we push the trip a day? His bright expression faded instantly. But I already told my friends we'd meet at the airport at noon. Mom, can we pack for him instead? Don't trouble him anymore. I nodded. He was right. Back on the phone, I said coldly, we're going out tomorrow. The graduation trip's already planned. You don't get to disrupt others just because you're shacking up with some stray hen. We'll pack your things. You can pick them up from the front door. What? Hello, Yao. I hung up before he could finish. Time was tight. I had no energy to waste on his nonsense. My son dragged out our biggest suitcase. We started shoving all his father's junk inside. Torn, worn out, useless things filled the case quickly. One suitcase clearly wasn't enough. I grabbed a stash of oversized garbage bags and kept stuffing, antique scrolls and paintings. We left those. His tiny new apartment wouldn't fit them. But underwear, wool pants, he'd definitely need those. That place barely had heating. In the end, we packed 8 large trash bags. His closet was finally empty. From under the bed, I pulled out my own clothes, those I'd tucked away for years, hidden like secrets. Now, they saw the light again. Both of my wardrobes were packed to the brim. I didn't feel so bitter anymore. Before sunrise the next day, my son and I began dragging the bags to the front door. Luckily, we lived in a one-family-per-floor building. Any more neighbors and they'd have complained. We taped a note to the door. "Dear cleaning lady, this isn't garbage. Someone will be picking it up shortly." Then we hauled our bags and set off. At the airport, I learned my son's travel group included 4 classmates, 1 girl and 3 boys, but that wasn't the surprising part. The surprising part, 2 of the boys had brought their dads along. That made 5 teenage boys and 2 women, me and the girl. I couldn't help but wonder how we were going to handle the hotel rooms later. We arrived in Shinning and had a little time to wander before catching our connecting train. I took the girl with me to browse a local market filled with Tibetan specialties. After a few laps, my eyes landed on a leather drum. It was beautiful, unique, something that would look perfect hanging in our home. I grabbed it without a second thought. We passed a stall selling rhodiola, a herbal remedy for altitude sickness. The vendor pitched it hard. I caved and bought a few boxes. He tossed in some oxygen canisters too. I couldn't say no fast enough. My son muttered beside me, "Women really do waste money." I raised my hand, ready to smack him, but someone caught my wrist. The girl spoke up, "Everything Auntie bought is useful. That's not wasting." My son shot her a look. "That drum's useful, of course," she replied. "It'll look great at home. I'm getting one too." My son rolled his eyes. Women are hopeless, and just like that, she and I each carried a drum as we hurried to board the train. Once on board, we were all scattered across different compartments. My son worked hard to rearrange some seats. One kind older man offered to switch, so the girl joined us. Her father, now the odd one out, had to sit with us too. We chatted, played cards. The night passed quickly. The next morning, spirits were high, at first, but as the altitude increased, everyone began reacting differently. My son's lips turned purple. He couldn't stay awake. No matter how much we shook him, he wouldn't wake up. I started feeling dizzy myself. I quickly got everyone up and handed out the pills. Thank God I'd listened to that pushy vendor. The girl and I had mild symptoms, but my son and the girl's father, they looked like extras from a zombie film. Lips pale as death, I remembered the oxygen canisters and handed them out. The girl went off to find the others in different compartments, giving each one a canister. It helped. My son's lips regained some color. I finally exhaled in relief. See, that's why parents should come along. But the dads were already collapsing. The moms were the ones getting everything sorted. I finally lay down. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. My ex. I hung up immediately. What was there left to say? Then the messages came flooding in. "Yao yao, we're not even officially divorced yet. And you've already thrown my stuff out. What's the code to the house? I just want a sip of water. Where are you? Was that really necessary? Did my things really offend you so much? You weren't like this yesterday. You were crying so hard. You didn't want me to leave. Was it all an act?" I took a deep breath, trying to think of how to respond. When my son suddenly sprang up, ran to the trash can, and threw up, I grabbed my phone and replied, "Son's vomiting. Talk later." He messaged back, "Okay, later, you'll message me." I didn't respond. I rushed over to help my son, rubbing his back and holding his shoulders. He had the worst reaction of anyone. The girl wasn't doing too well either. Maybe people with bigger lungs react worse. The oxygen was almost gone. I passed them both more rhodiola. After a hearty lunch and a short nap, the train stopped. I turned to look. A vast lake shimmered outside the window. This was Kuna Lake. In that moment, everything looked hauntingly beautiful. Even sorrow had its own aesthetic. I steadied myself and walked to the dining car to ask if they had more oxygen canisters. As I walked, my phone pinged again. Another message from my ex. "Where are you now?" I replied, "Just past Tangular Mountain." He responded, "We never went that far before," and somehow, that line made my nose run. I rushed to find a tissue. I'd mastered the art of holding back tears, but who knew snot would betray me first? I needed to distract myself. I bought 2 cans of beer, one barley white. One local brand. I braced myself. Both, I told the vendor. Back in my seat, I opened one and took a sip. Nearly died, but it dulled my nerves, made my brain slow, just the way I needed. I pulled out my bone conduction headphones. The first song that played was Karen Mock's Beat the Drum and Sing, cheerful and upbeat. Suddenly, I didn't feel quite so miserable. Then I remembered. I had a drum too. I pulled it out. This should be easy, right? Like an African demb, I set the song on loop, walked into the aisle, and started banging away, serenading a car full of altitude-sick kids. Was I good at it? No clue, but I felt great. All the drama with my ex faded from my mind. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned. It was the girl. She had her drum too. She sat beside me and started drumming along. My eyes lit up. I handed her one of my earbuds. "Do you know how to play?" I asked. She nodded shyly. The rhythm's universal. And then she played, her first beat, pure perfection. Every stroke had its own tone, its own volume. But that wasn't even the best part. She could sing. I immediately set my drum aside, stood up, and clapped for her with all my heart. I figured I'd better not make a mess of things. At least I had enough self-awareness for that. As the song ended, the girl turned to me and asked, "Auntie, do you know any other good hand drum songs?" I quickly grabbed my phone and started scrolling. Sure enough, I did have one. "Would you mind something older?" I asked cautiously. "My taste is a little behind the times," she laughed. "When I first learned to play instruments, I started with old songs. Let's hear it." I found the track and played on her bridge. "Think you can drum to this?" The girl listened for a moment. "Should be fine. I can drum. But I don't know the lyrics." My eyes lit up. "I do." Finally, a moment to shine. Auntie still had her uses. After all, just then, someone chuckled. I turned around to see the girl's father leaning casually in the doorway, watching us. I called out quickly, "Hey, want to sing? It's a low-register song." He shook his head. "You two go ahead." I glanced around. More and more people had come over to watch, originally drawn by the beauty of Qinghai Lake. Now they were drawn in by the rhythm of the drum. But now I was nervous again. What if I messed up? It'd be so embarrassing. The girl kept drumming, giving me pleading looks. "Auntie, if you don't sing soon, my hands are going to fall off." I took a deep breath, grabbed the half-empty bottle of barley liquor, and downed a large swig, coughed, breathed, braced myself. Then I picked up the drum, hugged it to my chest, and started pounding out a wildly chaotic beat to the music's rhythm. My son, who had just lifted his head, shouted, "Mom, that's a drum, not a guitar." I glared at him. "It's a guitar if I say it's a guitar. One more word and I'll smack you." The girl burst into giggles. I turned and rewound the music, starting it over. The intro was slow and melancholic. It nearly made me gag with awkwardness. At that moment, one of the classmates stumbled out, rubbing his eyes. "Ching-ching, you're holding a concert and didn't invite me." The girl's eyes lit up. "Auntie, he just got here. He's a bass." "Perfect," I said, helping him over to sit down. Still half asleep, he took my phone, glanced at the track, cleared his throat. "I'm good." We restarted the song, and I resumed drumming like it was a rock ballad. And just like that, a mini-concert was born, with a proper bass singer. The whole thing came alive. Most of the songs I liked were suited to male low registers. After the second song, I still wasn't satisfied. Old songs, they really hit different. They dragged your soul through every note, made you feel every word. My tears threatened to spill again. The barley liquor was already gone. I cracked open the Tashi Delek bottle, took one sniff. My God, it smelled like horse piss. Still, I pinched my nose and chugged it, surprisingly bearable. The girl's father came over and sat beside me. He picked up the bottle, sniffed, then asked, "Can I have some?" There was barely a sip left, but here he was, trying to snatch it. Unbelievable. Still, I nodded politely. Manners. The kids urged me to play another song. I kept flipping through my playlists like a DJ on the verge of madness. There. A hand drum version of Meeting Again. "Do you know this one?" I asked. The kids exchanged glances. "Never heard it." I hit play. They listened for a few bars and nodded. "No problem." Incredible. Not to be outdone, my son wobbled out of bed, still looking pale, and said weakly, just a drum beat. That's not enough atmosphere. I'll make us a string instrument. I blinked. What now? He took one of the empty aluminum cans from the barley liquor and cut it open. Then he went to the bunk opposite and traded snacks for a few elastic hair ties from one of the girls. Then he sat down and got to work, adjusting tension, tuning, plucking, listening. He looked so serious. I just stared, dumbfounded. What was he doing? Soon he was done. He cracked open a fresh oxygen canister, took a few breaths, and said, "Can I join?" The girl gave him a shy glance. "You're late. You'll have to stand." He nodded. Everyone looked at me. "Pick a song." I swallowed. My throat was dry, my head spinning slightly, but my mood was soaring. Being with young people, it's something else. And so, our hand drum rendition of Beauty Fades was born. These kids learned quite a few of my old favorites. Slowly, more and more passengers gathered around our car. They leaned in, listened quietly, applauded warmly. Watching these young, vibrant faces, I felt my blood boil with joy. Life is so short. Why not let go, live a little wildly, take a different path? If you hadn't shown up, I'd still be the old me, lonely, maybe, but not lost. You came with wind and storm, you left, and all my seasons fell out of order. I need time, a long, long time. As the Tashi Delek bottle emptied, so did my clarity. My ex-husband called at some point. I don't remember what I said. Eventually, exhaustion took over. I passed out and didn't wake again until nearly evening. I opened my eyes in a haze, my head throbbed. The carriage was quiet, most people were resting. The warm yellow light bathed everything in calm. My headphones were still playing. They'd slipped down to my feet. I picked them up and put them back on. The song, On Her Bridge, by Song Dongye, it had carried me through many tear-soaked, sleepless nights. But now, sober again, my emotions rushed back like a flood. Outside, the landscape stretched endlessly barren. The setting sun felt so lonely, so heartbreakingly beautiful. I think I finally understood why some people fall into the same grave over and over again. Willingly, it's fear of loneliness, fear of darkness, fear of having no one to share beautiful moments with. Parents grow old, children grow up and move away, and one day, all I'll have left is myself. Sobered up, the sadness only deepened. It felt like my life had become a tangled mess. The harder I tried to hold on to something, the faster it slipped away. That's how it's always been. My son was growing up. And me, I truly had nothing left. As the train climbed higher into the mountains, I couldn't stop crying. I gasped for breath, my vision blurred, my head spun. Maybe if I slept, I wouldn't have to eat dinner. The thought made me chuckle. I actually laughed out loud. Then the snot came, and splattered right onto my skirt. I'd made myself cry from stupidity. Frantically, I searched for tissues. A hand reached out from across the aisle and handed me a pack. I looked up. It was the girl's father, mortified. I realized he'd seen the whole thing, snot and all. I stood and rushed to the bathroom. What a mess. I spent a long time cleaning up. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like me. I was too ashamed to face myself. Of course, I'd forgotten to bring my makeup bag. At the worst moments, something always went wrong. Sneaking out of the bathroom, I saw the girl's father had already left. The girl lay asleep in the lower bunk across from mine. My bunk was directly opposite. My son was above her. Both kids were resting peacefully. I finally relaxed and sat down, checking my watch. It was past 6. Time for dinner. I patted my son's face. He frowned and rolled over. Fine, if he starves, that's on him. The girl was snoring softly. No point in waking them. I grabbed my phone and headed toward the dining car. There, I spotted the girl's father slumped on a bench. When he saw me, he straightened up and waved me over. It would have felt rude to ignore him, so I quietly sat down. Something about the way those kids had looked at each other earlier didn't sit right with me. I had a feeling something might be brewing. After all, girls are often in a more vulnerable position. I glanced around, leaned in a bit, shielding my mouth with my hand. Do you think there's any chance those two might, start dating? He frowned slightly. No idea. Probably not, I sighed, disappointed. They're awfully close. At this age, that's already a bit much. He nodded. Yeah. It's a bit early, but Ching Ching promised she wouldn't date until college. I raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. Oh please, all those daily messages and calls, what do you think that is, if not dating? Her father frowned. You don't trust your own child, he lies a lot. I blurted out without thinking. As soon as the words left my mouth, I choked a little. Had I just ruined my son's chance at a good relationship with that one careless sentence? I shook my head quickly. No, he's always been obedient, never lied to me, not once. The girl's father nodded. You have to give kids a bit more trust. Your son, Zungson, is a good boy. That's why I've never objected to the two of them being friends. I leaned in. When did you meet my son? Last trip. His dad came along too. Well, if the father already approved, I didn't really have a say anymore. You want something to eat? I offered. He shook his head. No appetite. I'm afraid I'll throw up if I eat anything. You go ahead. I rolled my eyes. So eat, throw up, and eat again. What are you doing sitting here, then? He hesitated for a moment, then admitted, the bunk's making a lot of noise. People moving up and down. I didn't want to disturb anyone. I'll go back once we get off the train. I remembered, he had given his lower bunk to his daughter and moved over to our side to sleep, a big grown man climbing in and out of that narrow bunk. Yeah, not a great sight. Without thinking, I said, why don't you go lie down on my bed for a while? I'm going to be eating for a while anyway. He looked a little embarrassed. That's not really necessary. I'm fine here. I rolled my eyes again. The kids are asleep. Go check on them. As soon as I said that, he got up and left. I smirked. Still had to bring up the kids to get these men to move. I pulled out my phone and froze. How many unread messages? Rubbing my eyes, I realized they were all from my ex-husband. You broke my pen holder. Do you know how special that was to me? Some of the bags ripped. You couldn't double bag them for me. Just a few more layers of plastic. Were you that stingy? My things are scattered everywhere. It's a mess. I'm still cleaning up. Yao. I'm honestly so disappointed in you. And another thing, I spoke with Xiaoting yesterday. 20 grand won't cut it. We're going to need 60. Just transfer me another 40. I'll pay you back when I get my year-end bonus. I promised her a beautiful wedding. I don't want to go back on that. Please, just help me this once. I'll write you an IOU. I read through everything silently, then calmly typed, not now. Let's talk later when I have time. His reply came instantly. I have time now. Too bad. I don't. Surrounded by men. Exhausted and drained. I had no patience left. And as for money, forget it. So this unmaterialistic, true love girlfriend of his couldn't even wait out a 20k budget. What a joke. I replied all at once. You're hilarious. I really thought she was something special. Turns out she's just as basic as anyone else. Then I flipped my phone to airplane mode and shoved it into my bag. Dinner was rushed. We were nearing the next station, back in the compartment. The kids were waking up and getting their things together. I quickly started packing as well. My son's lips were still purple, his eyes unfocused. He clearly needed a proper bed to recover. No outings today. Once we arrived in Tibet, the group started to break apart. Everyone had their own itinerary. Some wanted to rent a car, hire a guide and a driver, and explore the area at their own pace. Me, I preferred booking local day tours. One site, one group, take a rest day in between if needed. Eventually, we agreed, travel separately, return together. If we happened to land in the same city, we'd eat a meal together. Soon, the girl's father came over. I've made arrangements, someone's picking us up, want to ride together. I shook my head. We're not staying at the same hotel. I'll figure it out myself. Once I've rested, I'll plan our next step. You go call the other two kids over. He hesitated. Which hotel are you staying at? How many rooms did you book? I replied instinctively. Just one room. He frowned. One room. How are you going to sleep? Ask the hotel for a folding screen or something. I said casually. What? Did you book 2 rooms? I paused. To be fair, there was a difference between a daughter and a son. I hadn't thought that far ahead, but still, did my son really need his own room? The girl chimed in. Auntie, why don't you come with us? We can share a room, and my dad and Xiaoxian can share another. I hesitated, but I've already paid for our hotel. And we're not on the same tour plan. She smiled awkwardly. It's just, my dad's not doing so well. I'm afraid I can't take care of him on my own. I turned to glance at her father. then at my son. But honestly, I couldn't take care of all of them either. Looking over at the other father, I noticed his lips were turning purple again. Everyone was out of it. I asked, "So what's everyone planning to do tonight?" The men all answered in unison, "Rest, rest the whole day." I couldn't help laughing. These men were a complete disaster. The girl pulled me by the arm toward their vehicle. I couldn't even find a reason to refuse. The driver greeted each of us with a ceremonial harder, arranged the luggage, and we set off. My heart ached. I'd wasted the money on our hotel. Booked a perfectly good king room for nothing. Awkwardly, I messaged my son, "You sure you want to stay here?" His reply was instant. "Yeah, let's not move again." I followed the girl to our room. She was bubbly and sweet, chatting nonstop as I washed up. Smiling, I asked, "Why didn't your mom come with you?" Her expression dimmed instantly. Her lips twitched. "Auntie, I don't have a mom anymore." I froze, my heart tightening. "I'm sorry." Xiaoxian didn't mention. She shook her head. "It's okay, I'm just glad I have you with me." My nose stung. Without thinking, I pulled her into a hug. "So small, so thin." I murmured, "Your mom must have been a really wonderful person." She didn't say anything at first, then softly replied, "Your hair's still wet," I said gently. "Come on, I'll help dry it," running my fingers through her soft curls. So fragrant, so smooth. I felt an unexpected comfort deep in my chest. I had once longed for a daughter. Maybe this was what it felt like, someone to chat with, someone to warm your heart, someone to encourage you, someone who could heal your scars. The next morning, everyone was still asleep when I got up. I ate breakfast alone, then went out to buy gear for the trip. Whatever others were planning, I had to focus on myself first. I booked a 2-person tour for the next day, Potala Palace and Jokang Temple in Lhasa. After that, Shigatse, then Ningchi. The whole thing would take 10 to 15 days. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. One old lady, dragging around a bunch of weaklings and sick kids. Not ideal. A good morning message arrived from my ex. "Where are you today? How's the altitude sickness? Has your son recovered?" Looks like he changed his approach. I replied briefly, "Today I'm trying out a walking marriage." His reply came fast, "What's a walking marriage?" Then again, "Yao Yao, I know you're not that kind of woman. It's not about money, we can talk about anything, but don't demean yourself." I rolled my eyes. "You're using my money to support your side chick, but I'm demeaning myself for going on a walking marriage tour. That's rich. Xiaoting and I are in love." I nearly laughed out loud. Real love that can't survive a 20K budget. "Do me a favor. Transfer it to my account. I'll go light incense at Shin-chan Temple every day to bless your everlasting union. Hope you live happily ever after, locked together and never released to harm anyone else. You're hopeless. Maybe, want to try raising child support to 30K. This isn't a joke, neither is my life. Go dream on." I tossed my phone aside and wandered nearby to clear my head. Soon, my son called. His voice was weak. "Mom, are you up?" "I still feel awful. I'm on my way back," I said, hurrying my steps. "I bought more oxygen." "You'll be okay. How's Uncle doing?" "Not great either. None of us want to get out of bed. We're all exhausted." I sighed. "Is it okay if I leave the 2 of you behind?" I asked, unsure. "What about the other 2 classmates?" No one answered when I called. "I think they're sick too." Another deep sigh. What a mess this trip was turning out to be. I rushed back to the hotel and headed straight to my son's room. To my surprise, all 3 of them were there. The girl looked up, slightly out of breath. "Auntie, I woke up and didn't see you. So I came over on my own." I nodded. "All right, take a few puffs of oxygen first. Want to grab some breakfast?" Both men shook their heads at once. "Don't feel like moving." I paused. "All right then, we'll see how you feel in a bit. If you're doing better, have at least some porridge. You haven't eaten in too long. Keep going like this, and you'll develop other issues." Everyone went quiet. After finishing an entire canister of oxygen, my son seemed much better. He sat up and went to wash up. The girl's father also slowly sat up and gave me a nod. "This trip's been a mess. I don't know what we would have done without you." I gave an awkward wave. "I didn't do that much. You should try to eat something. Also, we've already planned tomorrow's tour. You 2 should think about what you want to do next." Both of them stared at me. The girl asked, "Auntie, "You're not taking care of us anymore." I awkwardly swallowed and stammered, "It's just, I have someone to meet tomorrow." "So our routes won't really match up," her dad said. "Then let's wait until that person arrives and decide afterward. I'll need a few days to recover anyway. No energy to plan anything right now." I blinked. Wait, was he saying they were going to keep tagging along? I already had my hands full with my own son. I couldn't handle this whole crew. Just then, my son came out of the bathroom. "Uncle, you should go wash up. We'll go a little later." The girl nodded and went to help her father. I sat at the coffee table, stunned and slightly frozen. My son patted me on the shoulder. "Mom, I feel so much better after that oxygen. I think I can walk around a bit. You should stock up on that stuff. It's magic." I swallowed again, awkwardly. That canister cost 40 yuan a pop, and I was footing the bill for everyone. Had this little brat even thought about that? Every penny I had was budgeted. I couldn't just spend freely anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud either, honestly. What the hell? When did my son develop this spoiled rich kid attitude? He scanned my face and asked, "What's wrong with you?" I closed my eyes. "Mom's out of money." His eyes widened. "What? Where'd your money go?" I quickly made a shushing gesture. "That money's reserved for your college. I can't touch it." He paused, then nodded. "Well, I've still got some. Want it?" My eyes sparkled. "You have savings. From where?" He rolled his eyes. "New Year's money, and I save part of my monthly allowance." "You forgot, I barely spend anything." "Oh, right." I smacked him lightly on the forehead. "Hurry up and give it back to me." Just then, the girl walked in, right in time to see my son transferring me money. "He only sent me 5,000. I stared. "That's it. So little." He shrugged. "Use it sparingly. If you run out, I might consider sending more." I was fuming. Why do parents even raise kids? After breakfast, once everyone looked a bit more alive, they all turned to stare at me blankly. It was unsettling. "So, if you guys still feel unwell, maybe go back to the hotel and rest. I'll go wander around on my own." The girl asked, "Where to, Auntie?" I pulled out my phone and checked. "I want to walk around Barker Street. Check out the local culture." The girl grabbed my arm. "I want to go too." My son looked at her, then came over. "I'm feeling much better now. I'll come along too." The girl's father added, "I wouldn't feel safe letting them go alone. I'll join you." My face shifted from normal to horror movie mode in 2 seconds flat. Then the other two boys piped up, "We want to come too." I stared at the last man in our group. He waved his hand. "Not me. I'm staying. Need to rest." So basically, I was responsible for everyone else. Before I could process, the girl handed me a wallet. "Auntie, put all expenses for these 2 days on us. You just focus on leading the way." I scratched my head in embarrassment. It wasn't even just about the money, honestly. The kids were kind of cute, but still, was it okay to accept the wallet? Before I could decide, the girl stuffed it into my hand. I couldn't say no anymore. Seriously, did these people not read up on anything before traveling, empty-handed, buying nothing, eating my food all the way here, and now this? Fine. Whatever. 2 vehicles took us to Barker Street. As we walked along the road, we saw lines of pilgrims kneeling in prayer. One woman's shoes were so worn her toes were completely exposed. Yet she still moved forward, one bow after another. I felt something stir in my chest. With faith that strong, surely the heavens would grant her wishes. Should I kneel too? I turned to my son. He looked horrified. "Mom, don't tell me you're actually thinking of kneeling down with them." I asked, "Where are they going?" He followed their line of sight. "Jokang Temple." I nodded. "That's on our tour tomorrow. We're joining a group for the day." The girl leaned in close. "Thank you, Auntie." I was just about to ask what we're doing tomorrow. I froze. Should I tell her that tomorrow's plan didn't include her and the others? Before I could answer, she ran off. She'd spotted a Tibetan clothing vendor. Eyes lighting up, she dragged my son along. "Let's buy outfits." I hesitated. "Maybe we really shouldn't tour together tomorrow." Her dad walked over. "I'm going to sit for a bit. You all go ahead and explore." The other 2 boys ran toward a stall selling ethnic artifacts. They seemed fine. I quickly pulled an oxygen canister from my bag and handed it to her dad. "Here, take a couple puffs. And this umbrella. The sun's too strong. You'll get dizzy." He nodded gratefully. I also bought 2 bottles of water and handed them to him. The girl's still too young, she's not used to looking after others, probably pampered all her life, she still had some growing up to do. Well, that's all for today's story. If you like this video, please subscribe. We will continue to update more exciting stories and look forward to seeing you next time.